Okay, there's a parsha. Good morning. There's a parsha in Achremos, Perik Yud Zayin. Vayidab Hashem al Moshe leimar, daber al Aaron vel bono vel kol bnei Yisrael v'mata leihem. Zeh hadavar shetziv Hashem leimar. Ish mi beis Yisrael asher yishchat shorei kesav vayeiz b'machne. If he goes ahead and he shechts b'machne a carbon, or asher yishchat michutz lamachne. Ve'el Pesach oil moyed le'aviu, and he doesn't bring it to Pesach oil moyed. So obviously we're discussing an animal that you could bring to the Pesach oil moyed. Lahakav karban Hashem, lifnei Mishkan Hashem, dam yichoshev lishahu. It's considered blood for this individual. Dam shafach, he's a murderer. V'nichras yishahu mi'kervamo, he gets karis. So this is the parsha of shchutei chutz. Not only shchutei chutz, but mahalo b'chutz. If you makrav the carbon outside, you're also chayiv. So the halacha is that you have to go ahead and bring something Pesach or Moed. Okay, so we're going to see in Perik Daf Kuvav, right? Daf Kuvav, we're going to see this is the yesod of this discussion of this halacha is in Perik Yudvav. It's called a Sheikhet V'Amal B'Chutz. So you can chayiv karas in one or two things: shchita or v'halah. You're going ahead and you're being makar bit b'chutz. Those are the two possibilities. So we're going to discuss in the first part of the shir a very, very interesting halacha. Let's say the shchita was okay, but the shchita inside would be okay. Halah b'chutz would be chaya, right? What about if the shchita inside? What about if the shchita that takes place inside is problematic? Would there be a din of halah on the outside? If you shecht on the inside. If you shecht on the inside and then you go ahead and bring it outside, if the shchita is not a good shchita, would you be chayiv for the halah? That's the question at hand. So let's begin. We begin the daf on Pei Daled Amid Beis where we left off. Right, 3 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Yochanan, hashoichet behema balayla. So shchita is fine. However, balayla is not fine. We know from the word the pasuk b'yom tzavoso that shchita of a carbon has to be during the day. You can't bring a carbon at night. So the shchita was at night. Now, what happens if you be makrav it outside? You go ahead, you take the imurim, and you makrav it outside. Would you be chayiv or not? On first hand, I would think, I would say not. I said, because the shchita of the animal is not a good animal, I would think you're not chayiv for halah. However, v'halah b'chutz chayiv. Says Rabbi Yochanan in a chiddush, you will be chayiv, you'll be chayiv. You'll be chayiv. It's an amazing thing. Even though the animal is not a good animal, you're shechting it by night, nonetheless, you will be chayiv. Now, we saw a machloikis yesterday in our Mishnah about the halachas concerning im olu yardu or not. We saw a machloikis yesterday in the Mishnah im olu yardu or not. So let's look at the Mishnah back on Pei Daled Amid Aleph. Let's look at the Mishnah Pei Daled Amid Aleph as we welcome Baruch from Texas, right? Pei Daled Amid Aleph, he's on a plane, right? He's on a plane, right? Look at that, he's on the plane. He can't hear. Anyway, Elu im olu lo yardu. These are im olu, if you go up. Lo yardu, you don't come down. Halon, v'yaytze, v'tamei, v'nishchat chutz l'zmanoi, v'chutz l'koimoi, v'shekiblu b'sulim, v'zorkas damoi. So these all stay up. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, she'nishchat b'layla, v'shenishbach dama, v'yaytze dama chutz l'klayim, in other words, like Rabbi Yehuda, if it's shechted at night, if it goes up, it's going to come down. The Tanakama disagrees. So now, would you think Rabbi Yehuda would agree with this din if you do a shechita b'layla in the Beis Hamikdash, you take it out and you makrav it? Would you be chayiv? You would think not. Why? Because he holds im Allah. If it goes up, teirei, it comes down. Meaning the mizbeach is not mekadesh this. But if you take a look at Rashi back by us, Pei Daled Amid Beis, Diber Maskal Hashoichet Behema Balayla, the last Rashi on the page. Veheloi Sabachutz, you shecht it inside Balayla, you bring it outside. Chayiv Mishamayla Bachutz, you chayiv for bringing your carbon outside. Va'afilu Rabbi Yehuda, and even according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Amarim also b'fnim teirei, if you checked it at night and you bring upon the mizbeach, it comes down. Even like him, the one who says comes down. According to him, it still would be. We'll see why. We'll see why in a second. You don't even tell me the ones that if they go up, they stay up. Because if they go up to stay up, there's a svar to say it has more kedusha. Look, it has more shaykh to being a carbon. After all, the mizbech is mekadosh it. But like Rabbi Yehuda, that the animal is shechted at night, the mizbech is not mekadosh it, is less of a svar to say that it's not such a carbon. If it's not such a carbon, maybe therefore you'll be mila outside, you'll be pata. Kamash Malon that no, even like Rabbi Yehuda who says im Allah seirate, and it's not so kaddish, obviously, nonetheless you'll be chayiv, as we'll see in a second. Okay? So that's the shita of Rabbi Yechanan. What's the reason? Amid Aleph. Loitei chusa mishoichet bachutz umayla bachutz. So in other words, the classic case of chiyuv of halah being yikar mekutz is where the shchita was bachutz. You did a shchita outside, right? But even if you did a shchita inside and you did a good shchita, totally good shchita, and you bring it outside, you be chayiv for halah bachutz, kares. What about if you messed up already? I did a shchita bachutz. I meant to say the classic case is the shchita inside and the halah is outside. Here you messed up already. You did a shchita bachutz. So you would think, once I mess up, I'm chayiv kares for that, I'd be potter if I go ahead and do and continue on and be makravit. Kimash malon what? That no. So what do you see from here? That a shchita bachutz, which again is not a good shchita, nonetheless yechayiv, shechting at night, where it's a chesaron in the night. It's not an etzem chesaron in the shchita. You're in the right place. It's just not the right time. Einoi din that you should be chayiv on Allah. So it's a shtickle kal v'chomer. Madach shechting outside, which is worse than shechting at night. Nonetheless, you'll be chayiv for halah. So says Rabbi Yochanan, if you shecht at night, right? It's nit erga, it's not worse than shechting outside, and therefore you will be chayiv. I feel like Rabbi Yehuda, you'll be chayiv for halah. Guys, we're good? I'm not getting not getting too much. Okay, one more time. We're dealing with a unique halacha, right? We know the halacha of shchutei chutz and halah bachutz, that Yechayev kares. We put the pasuk in, that's the din. Yechayev kares for that. Now, the classic case would be a shech inside, that's great, and then you makav it outside. Okay, great. What happens if you mess up? You shecht outside, so you chayiv for that. Would you be chayiv weiter for halah? And the answer is yes. You would be chayiv for that. Okay, great. That's a given. Now, with that given in mind, that's the Mishnah on Daf Kavav. With that given in mind, says Rabbi Yochanan, I have a case that's not any worse. What's that? You're shechting inside at night. So the shchitin is fine. However, it happens to be night, and the carbon can't be bought at night. So therefore, just like shchutei chutz, you chayev for being makav afterwards, who adin, if you shecht inside at night, also you chayev. That's what he says. That's what he says. Okay. Masav Rab Chia bar Ravin. Rab Chia bar Ravin asks the following question. Now we know that for an oif, an oilus oif or a chatas oif, you have to do malika, right? You don't do shchita. You take the kohen takes his fingernail and he pierces the bone and kills and shechs is moilik the bird. Hashoichid oy bifnim. So you did something wrong. You did shchita inside, yeah, bifnim. Is that any? And so now the assumption is shchita on a bird is no worse than shchita balayla. Shchita on a bird is no worse than shchita balayla. Umayla bachutz, and then you take the bird and you bring it outside. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you should be chayiv. Just like shechting at night, you chayiv. Who are then shechting a bird? On that, Gemara says pata. Now, Rabbi Chia bar Ravin is asking from what? From a Tosefta later on. From I don't know what is it. I didn't look it up. What is? If it's a Mishnah, if it's Tosefta. Yeah, it's a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah. So he asked from a Mishnah later on, and Rabbi Yochanan can't argue on a Mishnah. So what's the kasha? What's the kasha? You, Rabbi Yochanan, is saying if you do a shchita b'layla, yichayev halah. So why is it if you do a shchita on a bird, you put the halah? Right? Why if you do a shchita on a bird, you put the halah? What's the reason? What's the reason? So the Gemara answers. Nema loite pchusa. So let's just finish. Ashochet Ashechet oif b'fnim ma'ila b'chutz pata. Shachet b'chutz ma'ila b'chutz chayiv. Name a loy teip chusim mishechet ma'ila b'chutz. Let's say it shouldn't be any worse. If you shech the bird, just like if you shech the bird outside and your mila yichayiv, who then if you shech the bird inside your mila outside, you should be chayiv. Ela tiyufta, it's a tiyufta. It's an upshlag. Okay, let's chaz Rebbe one more time. Says Rabbi, listen up, Rabbi Nassim. Says Rabbi Yochanan a huge chiddush. Says Rabbi Yochanan regarding the din of bringing a bird. There's shchutei chutz and halaba chutz where you makir the bird outside. The halacha is if you shecht outside, you chayiv, and even on that shchita, if you're mile, you chayiv. You don't say once the shchita is out, the halal is not shayach. No. He says a bigger chiddush. He says if you shecht inside, but balayla, at night, where you can't bring a carbon at night. If you go ahead and you bring it outside, you chayiv. Freg Reb Chia bar Ravin from a Mishnah Vaita. You're telling me, Rabbi Yochanan, that you're doing a shchita at night, and to do it, which is not a good shechita, right? Because it's you can't bring a carbon at night. Yet nonetheless, if you take that animal and bring it outside, you're chayiv for bringing it outside. What about the Mishnah later on in Kufir Aleph? If you shecht a bird inside, now you're not supposed to. You're supposed to do malika. You shecht the bird inside an oil or a chatas, and then you go ahead and burn it outside. You pata. But according to you, why you pata? You should be chayiv. Tiyufta. So the easy way out is tiyufta. It's what it is a upshlag on Rabbi Yochanan. It's an upshlag on Rabbi Yochanan. V'yiba yisema shchita sa'oif b'fnim mikdal katlei. Now, if I shecht an animal at night, if I look in Hilchas Shchita, would it be a good shchita? I took a knife, I severed the kana and the veshet. It would be a good shchita. The only chesaron happens to be it's at night. Yeah. If I take a bullet and put it in the animal's head, would you think you're chayiv Allah b'chutz? You won't be chayiv. You won't be chayiv. The bout you need malika on the bird. If you go ahead and shech the bird, it's like putting a bullet in its head. The reason why you pata outside is the dimyan between shchita of an animal and shchita of an oif by karbanis is totally different. The shchita by an animal, azay sign. That's what you got to do. It happens to be at night, so that's a din in the carbon. But when you go ahead and do a shchita on a bird, that's not a din in the carbon. That's outright murder. You just killed it. Memela, to answer up Rabbi Yochanan, b'geshmak. When I did a shchita at night, that emes was a shchita. It happened to be at night. It's shayich halal b'chutz to be chayiv. You're asking me from a Mishnah Kufir Aleph, why if I do shchita on a bird, I'm pata? Shchita on a bird is this kind of shchita. It's murder. It's killing. So there's two pshat, and either it's taken upshlag, or no, mikdal katla, it's killing it, and therefore why it's not shayich. Good? Baruch, you hear? Benji, you able to hear? Benji, you able to hear? You can't hear. So you're just looking. Benji's on a plane and coming in from Texas. I love it. Okay, the next piece, the next is going to take us a good part of the daf. We saw it before. What do we know about Kachim Kedashim, Kachim Kalim? A few different things. First of all, there's the din of Me'ila in both. However, Kachim Kedashim, Me'ila means you're naming from Hashem. You're taking from Hashem. Is you're Magdash Chatas, you're Magdash an Asham, you're Magdash an Oila. Innately, it has what? It has Kedushas Aguf. And if you go ahead and use it, you're being behegdish. You're naming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kachim Kalim is Mom and Bailam. If you're Magdash an Isha with a Shlomim, she's Mekudeshes. It's Mom and Bailam. The din of Me'ila, when can't you use it, is after Zrika. After Zrika, there's a din of, in the Imurim, there's a din of Me'ila. There's a din of Me'ila. Before the Zrika, there's no din of Me'ila. Now, using our rule of thumb, that the Mizbeach is Magdish, something that's roy for the Mizbeach, that it gives it Kedusha, it becomes what we call Lachmei HaMizbeach, Lachmoi HaMizbeach. If you would put the Imurim up before Zrika, would you think it comes down or not? In other words, can I use Me'ila as a way of referencing that this has that Shaykhis to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that it should stay up there or not. Ul is machadish, a tremendous chiddush. Despite the fact that there's no me'ilah before Zrika, because again, it doesn't belong to Hashem yet, because the emurim can't be brought to Hashem before Zrika, so it's still in the rishus of the Baal. If it goes up, it stays up. That's Ula's chiddush. If it goes up, it stays up. Says the Gemara, Ama Ula, imuri kachim kalim, shehelon lifnei Zrikas daman. Again, what matters the emurim to be burnt? It's the act of Zrika. Over here, you went ahead and you brought it up before the Zrika. Lo yardu, they stay up there. Nasmu lachma shel mizbeach, they become the lechem of the mizbeach. They become the lechem of the mizbeach. That's the chiddush. Good? Okay, now, to really understand the whole Shach V'Tarya, let's go back to yesterday's daf. We have to see yesterday's daf. Pei Daled Amud Aleph. Now, the Mishnah had mentioned all the things that stay up and the things that come down. The criteria was if it's got its kedusha in the Beis Hamikdash or beforehand. If it was kodesh, then there's a din of im alu yardu. If it wasn't kodesh, right? If the psul took place b'kodesh, Reveya, Venerva, Esnan, Mechir, when did the problem take place? As soon as you brought it. But the problem was beforehand. If it's something that took place when it was okay, it was lon, it was yoitza, it was kosher, it was tamei. In other words, that was the criteria between the difference between the two. Now look at the Gemara. Tanya, we're going to bring a brisa. The Gemara first is going to try to bring a raya to Ula from this brisa. Then we're going to try to bring a raya from our Mishnah. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Zois hiya oila. We said it's three miyutim. Zois hiya and oila. Hari elu gimel miyutim prat l'shenishchta balayla. It gets slaughtered at night. Ushenishbach dama. It gets the blood is spilled. Ushiyatz dama chutz l'kloyim. Shem also tered. If it goes up, it comes down. Reb Shimon Omer, oila ein li ela oila ksheira minayin l'rabbi shenishcha balayla shenishbach dama shiyatz dama chutz l'kloyim v'alon v'yoytz v'atam v'nishchat chutz l'zman chutz l'kloyim v'shekilu b'sulam v'zokas dama v'niton l'mata l'shenich l'mayla v'lamayla shenich l'mata v'niton l'machutz shenich l'fnim l'fnim shenich l'machutz pesach chatas sheshachna shalei l'shmon minayin. How do you know all these things? Because mi medayek. First l'shoinais nishbach dama and yotze chutz l'kloyim. And it says Pesach at the end. Tamad Leimar Tyrus Ha'oila Riba Tyra Achas L'Chol Ha'oilam Shem Ola Lo Yardu. Okay, so it stays up. Good. Now, what do I see? I see from here that Nishbach Dama, it stays up according to Reb Shimon. I see over here that Yoitza stays up like Reb Shimon. Okay. We also see Pesach, something about Pesach. Okay, now back by us. With this in mind, with this information, let's go to us. Says Ula imurim kochim kalam that you bring up with Rika lo yardu nas malach mishol mizbeach Reb Zera af anan nami tanina. I have a raya from the brisa that I just mentioned. What did the brisa say? Shenishbach dama usheyoytze dama chutz lekloyim. Right? It's nishbach dama, it's spilled, or when chutz lekloyim. Rashi brings the raya from the first case. Rashi nishbach dama lo yisered abasa. The basa stays up imala if it goes up. The Kasal Gedaitach, the Beimuri Kochim Kalam Namikoi. It's speaking about the Imurim of Kochim Kalam. Okay, so outside. Let's develop the raya outside. Fellas, guys, look at me. Let's develop the raya outside. Nishbach Dama, the blood spilled, right? Can you do a Zrika if the blood spilled? Can't do a Zrika, right? If the Imurim go up, the Brisa says, like Reb Shimon, it stays up. That's the raya Tula. What's Ula's din? Ula kishmaka din. It's kishmaka raya. You go ahead. If something is kochim kalim, if you don't do zrika, it stays up. If you don't do zrika, it stays up, right? So minela l'chayra, I have a raya from this brisa, like Reb Shimon, and the Shita Mekubetza says even Reb Yehuda would agree that nishbach dama I can't do with zrika. I don't have it. Nonetheless, it stays up. So you have a raya kochim kalim. Right? If Kachim Kalim stays up. Good. Let's see inside. Amrav Zeirafna Namitanina, Shinishbach Dama Shiyotze Dama Chutz Lekloyim, Uma Hasa, Dimba Lizraik. You want to go do a Zrika. Ein Loi Lizraik, you don't have about to spill, to spitz, because you have nothing. Amit. Im Alula Yardu, Hacha, the Imbo Lizraik, Zoirik, like Kal Shekain, over here in Balisra Gzari like Kol Shekain. If you want to come, go ahead and do a Zrika like Kol Shekain that like Kol Shekain that it should stay up. Madach, we can't do a Zrika, it stays up. Certainly, where you could do a Zrika, it should stay up. And for the Gemara, Tegmu Akotche Kedoshim. You assumed in the Havamina, what are we speaking about? You spilled the blood of Kachim Kalim, and the Murim going up is going to be Kachim Kalim. No, it's speaking about Kodesh Kedoshim. Guys, Kodesh Kedoshim it has Kedushas Aguf already, meaning they both have Kedushas Aguf, but it's more than Rabbi Shleims already. You'd be moil right away. You don't need any other action. It's showing it's Kachim Kedoshim. There's a dinamila right away. Memela im olu la yardu. If you spill the blood, you bring it up. But einachinami, if it was Kachim Kalim, it wouldn't stay up. So you don't have a raya to ula. You, Rev Zera, wanted to bring a raya from our brisa. That what? Kachim Kalim, if it goes up, Lifnei Zrika. Lifnei Zrika means over here that you can't even do a Zrika because Nishbach Dama. So Memela have a raya? No, you don't have a raya. It can't sign is speaking about Kachim Kedoshim. Good? Oh, guys, now watch. Fellas, when we did the brisa, I told you to shtel on the last part. Pesach. What is the current Pesach, guys? It's Kachim Kalim. And Pashtus, it's going on the whole brisa. Right? Guys, you want to say, look at the brisa again, guys. Geshmak. Look at the brisa again. Look at the brisa again. He brings in this whole brisa over here. And then it says in the right before Talmud Leimar, how do you know if it goes up, it stays up? Now the Havamina is that the din that you just told me of Nishbach Dama is going on the whole thing, including what? The Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach is Kachim Kalim. So l'chayra, you do have a good raya to Ula, right? It would be a good raya to Ula because it's speaking about Kachim Kalim. Back by us. Hari Pesach, the Kachim Kalim, who? Pesach is Kachim Kalim. And so you see it does apply to that. The din of Nishbach Dama. No, you have no raya. What is it? The din of Pesach Kachim Kalim. Tigmu b'shaloi l'shman. That's speaking only in the case of shaloi l'shman. It's not speaking about what? It's not speaking about the case of Nishbach Dama, only case of shaloi l'shman. Just excuse me for one. So you can't bring me a raya from Kachim Kalim by Pesach that's speaking about, it really is speaking about Kachim Kedoshim. So guys, if it's speaking about Kachim Kedoshim and the blood spills, memela what? No raya. I understand im olu lo yardu. But you can't be a raya by Kachim Kalim. You want a taina? The brisa discusses Kachim Kalim as a Pesach. That's the Lishma. We know from the first Mishnah in the Masechta Chatas Pesach Shal Lishma lo yolu l'bayom Shem Chayva. Okay, weiter. Says the Gemara. Tanan. Okay, now we have to go back to the Mishnah, guys. That was the brisa. We want to bring a raya from the brisa Ulu. Now we're going to bring a raya from the Mishnah. Okay, so let's go back to Pei Daled Amid Aleph. The Kulan and all of them, if you look, the Kulan on Pei Daled Amid Aleph, it says Gemara, go up a few lines. Go up a few lines, like 2 lines. At the end of the line, 3 lines. The Kulan Shalu Chaim L'Roshim Mizbeach, and all of them that go up Roshim Mizbeach, Yardu. Good. Oyla Sha'olsa Chayil Roshim Mizbeach, Tereid. Shachta Roshim Mizbeach, Yafshit, V'nitach Bim Kaima. Okay, so let's bring a raya from here to Ula. Let's see. Okay, now let's go back by us. V'kulun Shalachayim L'Gabim Mizbeach, Yardu. Why are you bringing it down, fellas? Because it's alive. If it's alive, it doesn't pay to keep it up there. Bring it down, do whatever you have to do, and bring it back up. Okay? What's the diak? If it's alive, you bring it down. Hashchutin lo yardu. Right? If it gets geshachtin, it stays up. All of them that are alive come down. Mashma, if it's geshachtin, whatever it is, stays up. My love, loishnok bekotche kadoshim, loishnok kotchem kalim. Once it's geschochten, and here's the key, even lifnei zrika, kotchem kalim stays up, raya leula. Again, kulan that alive come down. If it's dead, it stays up. Not dead, means geschochten. Yeah. L'chayra, no difference. Kotche kadoshim, kotchem kalim. And l'chayra, no difference. L'fnei zrika, lachas zrika. So l'chayra, you have a raya to ula, if not from Isa, at least from our Mishnah. Let's bring a raya. L'fnei zrika, kotchem kalim stays up. That's what we want to say. Rabbi Zeh would say now. Says the Gemara, don't make that diuk. There's another diuk. Don't make the diuk everything that's geschochten stays up. Make the chayim comes down. Shachten, yesh v'yesh, right? Yesh v'yesh, right? Loi hashchutin mehen yardu. They're those who come down. Kotchem kalim mehen lo yardu, and they're those that what don't come down. That's kotche kedoshim. Your diuk is not a correct diuk. You want to say across the board, if it's geschochten, no difference. Why? I can make the diuk. Chayim comes down. Shachten, Gensach, it depends. And I have no raya to ula, because kotchem kalim would come down. Fred Gemara for kulon kitani. It's mashma kulon, all of them. And all of them means sai kotche kedoshim, sai kotchem kalim. Says Gemara, no, achayim. The kulam is going on chayim, not on a diuk. It's right. Anything that's alive, right? Anything that's alive stays up. Anything that's alive stays up. But geschochten, then it depends. It says in a pshita, if it's alive, it comes. Guys, pshita, if something is alive, it's poshet, it comes down. Since after shchita, you're going to bring it up, why keep it up there now? Guys, listen to the svara. The chayr is dealing with a kosher animal, yes? You're dealing with a kosher animal. Any kosher animal that makes it up in mizbeach comes down. Why? Why would you keep something up? Fellas, look at me. Why would you keep something up? Only because if you take it down, you can't put it up again. Again, the reason to go ahead and keep it up is because if you take it down, then you wouldn't be able to bring it up again. If an animal is kosher and it's alive, you bring it down, you shecht it, and what do? You bring it up again. So it's pashit. Bishlein, if you're telling me it's a chiddush in koshem kalim, I understand what you're telling me. The chiddush is for the diuk, if it's geshacht in koshem kalim, it stays up, even though there wasn't a zrika like ula. But if you're telling me that the by shchuta, it's only koshem kadoshim, but if it's alive, it stays up, it doesn't stay up, of course it doesn't stay up. There is no chiddush in that. If it's a kosher carbon that is up there, bring it down. Because the whole reason to keep it up is because once you bring it down, you can't bring it up. If it's a kosher carbon, bring it down, shecht it, and then bring it up. So there's no reason to keep it up there. So it must be like ula. It must not be. The diuk is not that what it's going on live animals. The diuk is live animals come down, but geschochten animals, sai kotche kedoshim, sai kotche stay up, and it's a good raya to ula. It says merla oila machayim. It's going on live animals. You want to hear a chiddush? I'm speaking about an animal that you're not going to be able to put up again. Ubedukin sheba ayin v'aliba de Rebbe Laza, Rabbi Akiva. Adukin sheba ayin according to Rabbi Akiva. The Amar im alu lo yardu. Guys, outside. You made it, guys. What was the diuk of live? If it's alive, a pashit, of course it comes down. Because after you slaughter it, then you'll bring it up. Rabbi Akiva holds that a bal mum, right? Im olu lo yardu by. It's possible to have a geschochten bal mum that stays up. What's a geschochten bal mum that stays up? A cataract. If the animal has a cataract, we learn from an oif. If it has a cataract in it, it's gonna. If you shecht it, it stays up. Says the Gemara, like Rabbi Akiva, I would think the following. In other words, I need you to tell me that if it's alive, it comes down. It's speaking about an animal that has a dukin sheba ayin. So what do you say? Pshita, of course it comes down, it can go up again. No. This is going to bring it down. It's not going to go up again. So you better have a havmina what if it's alive and it's dukan sheba ayin, shecht it up there and keep it up there. Kemash malon kulan chayim, anything that's alive. Meaning a Baal Mum, according to Rabbi Akiva, that is not going to go up again. Nonetheless, you bring it down because it's alive. But not to make the diak like Ula, that Kachem Kalam Zrika stays up. So you have no raya according to Ula now. So we went through, again, the Gemara's synopsis is, we went through Ula's Shita, we tried to bring a raya from the Brisa, we were unsuccessful. We tried to bring a Mishnah from raya from the Mishnah, we were unsuccessful, because any raya is not saying that Kachem Kalam Zrika stays up. So far, that's where we're holding. And the Chiddush, beautiful, Chaim, what was the Kasha? The Kasha was, of course, a live animal you bring down. After all, once you bring it down, you're going to shecht it, you bring it back up. No, I have a live animal that if you're going to bring it down, you're not going to bring it back up when it's slaughtered. What is that? That is the Dukan Shabayin according to Rabbi Akiva. Now, b'mayuk misa b'psulim. So you're saying that what? You're saying that kulan, all that's alive, comes down. You're telling me that's speaking about psul, a puzzle like an animal. It's speaking about Rabbi Akiva, yeah? Ema seifa, v'chein oilish also chaya l'roish hamizbeach, an oil that goes to roish hamizbeach, teireit, it comes down. Now, what animal is this, guys? This is the Dukin Sheba Ayin according to Rabbi Akiva, yeah? Again, we read the Mishnah, right? We read the Mishnah together. So we're flowing. Kula shechayim in any animal that has a mum, like a deer, like a dukan shebayin. According to Akiva, if it goes up, right? If it goes up alive, then it comes down. However, shach the b'roshim mizbeach, if you shecht it at the top of the mizbeach, what should you do? Yavshit, skin it, v'natach b'mkaima, and cut it up in its place. That's what an oila does. V'i pipsula ba. If you're speaking that what? It's an animal that is puzzle because it's a balmum. Hefshit mituachi. You're going to do hefshit, skin it and cut it up. V'nitachaysa rachmana. It says v'nitachaysa. Oisak ksheira v'lei psula. The cutting up is only what? By a kasha, not by a puzzle. And for the Gemara, seifos on the ksheira. The seifa comes the ksheira. Umay kamash malon the yesh hefshit mituach b'reshem mizbeach. Okay, back by the Mishnah, guys. Back by the Mishnah. Let's go back to Pei Dalet and Aleph. Okay, let's start again. Kishem shem alu lo yardu, right? Kishem shem alu lo yardu, kach im yardu lo yalu. What's it speaking about? It's speaking about Rabbi Akiva, Dugan Sheba Ayin. You might think since if it comes down, it's not going to go back up, you keep it up there. Kamash malon not. Okay, now, the kulish olachayim roshim mizbeach, and all animals that have dukan sheba ayin that you bring to the top of mizbeach, yodu bring them down, and oila also chayim roshim mizbeach, right? Shach the roshim mizbeach. But if you go ahead and you go ahead and shech the animal, yavshit v'yinatim mekayma. If it's speaking about a puzzle, what are you doing the nituach for, guys? If it's puzzle, you don't do nituach. Yes? And for the Gemara, clause B is speaking about a kshera. In other words, you assume that one flows into the other. Clause A, kulin chayim, that's speaking about dukan sheba ayin. Clause B, that if you shech the b'roshim mizbeach yavshit, that's speaking about a kosher dicker animal. So it's not nitzvah. Mamash nu kimt of had a limp shot in a Mishnah. It's unbelievable. Like, by each line, each nakuda. So very good. Geschmack. Now, what's the problem of doing hefshif and nituach at the top of the mizbeach, guys? Think about what hefshif and nituach must look like, right? They had special rings next to the mizbeach. They would go ahead, they would hang the animal by the hooks. They would go, not the rings, the hooks. The shechita was by the rings. They took the hooks, they did hefshif. Then they go ahead and there's a block there, they chop it up. The mizbeach is kaddish. It's magdish everything. You're teaching like a butcher shop. It's a bizayon, right? It's a bizayon to go ahead and hack flesh at the top of a mizbeach. That's what you do. You see the guy with a kupitz, with a cleaver there, right? Yeah, with a cleaver, he's hacking away. Anyway, okay. So therefore, this works out. If you're telling me it's speaking about a kasha, you're telling me it's speaking about a kasha you're doing hefshin nituach the rest of mizbeach. So Bishlema, according to the Mandiyama, who says right, who says Hefsheni Tuach Reshim Mizbeach is good. Oh, however, the Mandiyama ain't Hefsheni Tuach Reshim Mizbeach Ma'ikla Meima. You got a problem, guys. If you're telling me let's fear ice, guys, let's fear ice. If you're telling me that you can't do, you're telling me, guys, you can't do Hefsheni Tuach at the top of the Mizbeach, right? So light him, what kind of animal are we speaking about? A kosher dika animal. So we're speaking about a live animal that's kosher, and you're telling me that what? That it comes down, it must be a geshachten animal, stays up. There was no zrika, so you have a right to ula. You have to fear ois, bring it the whole thing back over and over again. You hear, guys, kishmak. You have to go through the whole thing again. Light them on the omar. That you can't say you do have to talk in the Moshe Mizbeach, so it can't be, so there's no chiddush there. So what would the chiddush be? The chiddush must be that shchutim are la yardu, even though it wasn't zrika. So hachmayaskin against shahoisla shasa koishav nifsla. Okay, it's another ukimta. This animal was kosher. It was a kosher animal. It wasn't. It's not dukan sheba ayin. Dukan sheba ayin is the first thing. Now you're saying that this animal that you brought up, right? This animal that you brought up, in fact, it was kosher, right? And before you had a dinner zrika, right? V'nifsala after the zrika. After you did zrika, it became pasul. So therefore, lo yardu. So it's no raya to ula, because ula's raya was lifnei zrika. Here we're speaking about an animal. You want to know why it's staying up. It's staying up. Why? Because there was after zrika still happened. Rabbi Lazar Shimon he damar kimat shenizrek adam v'hurtza basa sha'achas. Since hurtza you did ritzoi. Once you did zrika and it was kosher meat, so the animal was accepted. Then you have shitena. Then you do hefshit v'ayra lekahanim, right? And the or goes to the kahanim. So therefore, this animal that you're doing hefshit at the top of mizbeach is not a puzzle the animal; it's a kosher the animal, and therefore what? Okay, Fred the Gemara of Elikoni Ketzad Oisa Mayuresa Kravayim Limata. You bring the innards down below umadichim, and you go ahead one and you wash them. Then look at the ches in the shita, guys. Look at the ches in the shita. Umadichim. Vehechi matzi masik lahu. How could you bring it down? Hechi navad. How could you take it down, guys? You can't bring it up again if you can take it down. In other words, you're telling me that it was right. So the Gemara says, Hechi navi. What should we do? Nakvinu b'brisayu. We should go ahead and bring it up there with its in disgusting state of excrement. What is the passage we just said last week's Haftarah, 2 weeks ago? If you go bring it to your governors, would it be a vavilling? So in other words, so of course, you have no choice. Of course, you have to wash it. So no, madichin lamale. Since when you bring it down, you're not going to bring it up anyway, guys. Once you bring it down, you're not going to bring it up anyway. So why are you washing it? Why are you washing it? On that, Gemara says the misrami koyin achrina v'layadu. If another koyin comes along and doesn't know, nasiknu, he might bring it up. He might bring it up. So therefore, we want to make sure it's washed. And once he brings it up, imolo layardu. The Gemara, v'ano nekim nevad lula kahanim mulsa diasibeli takala. I would go ahead and do something for the kahanim that's going to bring to a takala. In other words, bishleim, if we keep it shmutzadik, then he's not going to bring it up. But if you're going to wash it up, you're going to make a mistake. So how can we allow you to go ahead and set up the kohen to bring it up when after all, the Gemara answers, that it shouldn't be kachei kedoshim, should not be what lying there in a state of bizoyin like nevela, in a state of. So in other words, even if he brings it up, it's worse leaving it ungewashed. It's worse leaving it not washed, right? It's worse than going ahead and having the possibility from bringing it up. So the bottom line is we don't have a raya to ula. In other words, if you just joined share now, or you didn't know a blessed thing that was going on, here's the latter, right? Ula says that if you bring up kachim kalim, even though lachar there's no din of meili yet, right? Even though there's no din of meili yet, right? I don't know why there's another Nasa Newman coming on. Okay, anyway. So even though there's no din of Me'ili yet, then what? Then someone needed the computer, right? Zalam din. Anyway. So if the halacha is that you it stays up. You want to bring a raya from a brisa and a mishnah, you had no raya. We slugged up every single raya. Okay. A little easier, guys. Now, Amr Rabbi Bar Ravin, boy Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan asked Ula, but Ula was pasha to Ula. Rabbi Yochanan asked as a kasha. Imuri as an abaya. Imuri kachim kalim shehelon lifnei zrikas daman. Imuri kachim kalim that you brought up before zrika. Yardu or lo yardu? Did it come down or not? Amle Ravami v'tiboylach meila. Why are you asking that? Why are you asking is it in a meila or not? Amle meila like kami boyle. There's I have no shaila of meila. The zrika who the kavala who b'meila. It's the zrika that's kaveya that now it belongs to Hashem. Before the zrika, it's mam and bailam who. So I have no shaila. Zichad is no din of meila. My whole shaila is in lo yardu. Ki kami boyle yerida. Who push it and we push it lo yardu like ula. Vein ba meila and there's no din of meila. Okay, here's the same kasha, but the boy was in Mila and Rav Nachman Yitzchak Masni Hachi. Amar Rav Chia Bar Abba boy Rabbi Yochanan Imuri Kachim Kalam Shehelon Lefnei Zrikus Damam Yesh Ben Mila Eloi. In other words, the first shaila was does it come down or not? This is no. Was it din of Mila or not? Amar Ravami V'Tiboy Lach Yerida. Why don't you ask Yerida? Amar Yerida like Kami Boy. It's pasha to me Yerida. The Nasu Lach Misham Mizbeach. It becomes the lechem of the Mizbeach. It becomes a piece of the Mizbeach. It becomes that's the svar of why it stays up. Ki kami boy le meila. Upashit hachi la yardu ve'en ben meila. And upashit la yardu, it doesn't come down like ula. Ve'en ba meila, and there's no din of meila. Okay, so the Mishnah went ahead the Elohim the psulim and it listed. It listed Balmum, Rabbi Kiva Machshav Balei Mumim. So now we've had Dukan Sheba Ayin many times. This is the main source. In other words, when we cross-referenced it, it was from this Gemara, but this is the main source of Dukan Sheba Ayin. Okay, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan lehechsher Rabbi Kiva when he says Balei Mumim doesn't mean every Balmum that it goes up it stays up. Dukan Sheba Ayin. Why Dukan Sheba Ayin, guys? Hayaluk Sherim Ba'oifais. Okay, outside fellas, eye contact. We know Tamas v'Zachrus v'Behema. There's a din of a it has to be pure, rain, or it has to be also. It also has to be what a zachar. Let's say a carbon oila. By an oif, an oilis oif, it can be a hen. It doesn't have to be a rooster. In Svetans, there's no din of mum. There's a din of mechusa aver. It's missing an aver. But a mum, like a Dukan Sheba Ayin, they're not. So Memela Rabbi Akiva learns out from oifes, just like by oif, such a min mum, like a Dukan Sheba Ayin is not a mum, who are din by behema. Okay, you hear? So, good. That's his din. However, he says one thing. For who shekodim hegdeshin es mumam. It has to be when he was magdish the animal, it did not have that mum. If it had Dukan Sheba Ayin, and he was magdish it would only have kedushas damim. It wouldn't have kedushas aguf, right? So it must be it developed that cataract after that kedushas aguf. Then im alul yardu. That's one din. Umayda Rabbi Akiva ba'oilis nekeva dikshakadim mumalek deishin damya. There's no such thing as an oilis nekeva, guys. An oilis only from a zacha, an oilis from a man. So if you go ahead and a man wants to bring in carbon oil and he brings a female animal, that ain't mum gedayla mizu. His maida that in other words, even though it's tamim without a physical mum, the fact that it's gender is a mum. Okay. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah. Yesh nirva ba'oifis or ein nirva ba'oifis? Is there a din of nirva, the oif being a receptacle of znus, or not? What's the shaila? Mina behema lahoitzias arei v'nirva, kol heicha de'isya b'roiveya isya b'nirva, where the animal is capable of doing the act of znus. So therefore, the animal is roi to accept the din of znus. However, kol heicha de'lesya b'roiveya, b'mitzias fellas, a bird is not able to go ahead and do an act of znus. B'mitzias. Lesa b'nirva, then what? But it's capable of an act of znus being done to it. So in other words, is it hava hatalia? So in other words, what's the shaila? The lamda shaila. is Roiveya v'nirva hava hatalia. So by a behema we see yes, by an oif maybe yes, maybe no. Since an oif is incapable of roiveya, it's not the act of nirva won't passel it. Well, no, the bottom line is an act of snus was done to it, and it's right. Omar Rabba Tashma, Rabbi Kiva Machsher b'balei mumim. Rabbi Kiva is Machsher b'balei mumim. Why, guys? Which balmum? Guys, which balmum? Dukin sheba ayin. Why? Because it's kasha ba'oif. Firais, right? The reason why dukin sheba ayin works is because it's kasha ba'oif. V'im isya, and if you're telling me that nirva, that an oif that is nirva is kasha, nachshanami b'nirva. It should, in other words, you're telling me, Rabbi Akiva says, the reason why Dukin Sheba Ayin is not a problem, if it's Ololo Yardu, is since it's not a problem by an oif. And that was it. If Nirva was not a problem by oif, you could have said that what? That Nirva also shouldn't be a problem, right? But it doesn't. You know why? Because Nirva is a problem, right? By the fact you didn't bring that in is because nirva is a problem. And even though it's not capable of roiveya, it's aser. Okay. Hanirva v'amuktzah, a nirva an act that znus was done to the bird. V'amuktzah, you'll see how I know it's speaking about a bird in a second. An act that znus was done to the bird. Muktzah was set aside for avodah zara. Never was served avodah zara. Esnan, it was used for peva zaina. Umachir, it was switched for a dog. Tumtum androgynous. You have a bird that's a tumtum, where androgynous has both simanim. Kulim mitamayin bigodim abeis habliya. They all be mitama bigodim abeis habliya, meaning shmamino. It says nirva, and it says that's tam because of bein shmamino. That what nirva is the same as what. As huktzah, it's the same as all those cases. All those cases, you can't bring as a carbon. So the male have a raya since it's, it's speaking about a bird because it says it's based is only by a kosher bird. And you know that it's a linear carbon. It's not a good carbon because all the other things not a good carbon. You have a good raya. Okay. Reb Chanina back in the Mishnah. It's a long Mishnah. Let's go back to the Mishnah. Reb Chanina skana kahanim Omar. Rabbi Kiva said that what? Rabbi Kiva said you could bring up balmum like dugan sheba ayin. It says Rabbi Chanina skana kahanim Omar doicha hayab abba es balimumim. So Rabbi Chanina says his father also was a kohen. Right? His father was a kohen. His father used to go ahead and push it off the mizbeach. Okay, let's see Rashi. Let's see the Gemara. Rabbi Chanina is sagana kind of my kamash malon. No, just say it's puzzle. Guys, just say it's puzzle. What are you telling me? He was doicha. So my kamash malon. Ibay sema maisa. He's just telling you what happened. There's not a halachic ramification of what you should do, but this is what he did do, right? Or v'ibay sema my doicha klachiyad. In other words, he would have held it to bizoyin once the balmum was up there to go ahead and just take it down. So what did he do? Klachiyad. He did a shinoi that it wouldn't be such a bizayin. Okay. The final din of the Mishnah, right? Kishem Shem Allah. You said that Rishon is Beach. Yavshim and Nitopim Kaima. Okay. What's the din? Amaula. Loishanu Elishlei Mashlaven Ba'ar. When do you go ahead and bring it down? When do you go ahead? What's this going on? I just forgot. Let's see a second. Says Ula. Din that what la yardu kashem shem la yardu kachem la yolalu. In other words, if it goes up, guys, this din. If it goes up, it stays up. If it goes down, it stays down. This din of staying down, that doesn't go back up again, is speaking ula loishanu ela shlei moshla ben ha'ar. If the ar didn't take hold of it, aval moshla ben ha'ar. If the ar took all of it, then even if it comes down, yalu, you'll bring it back up. The Geshmaka Rashi here, guys. Says Rashi. Yeah, Rashi. Koldu yasa mashal ben va'ar. Rashi did mashal ben va'ar. Koldu even a little bit. Yalu, it goes back up. The nasu lachma shel eish. The girsa they say is lachma shel mizbeach. In other words, there's an Indian. There's big rate on this. There's really big rate on this about what's the reason Moshel Ben Or works? So it doesn't effectively make it more kosher. It doesn't go ahead and make this. Oh, 1 second. If not Moshel Ben is Or, it's more kosher and therefore goes back up. Or if it's not Moshel Ben Or, it comes down and stays down. If it's Moshel Ben Or, it's showing a chelik from the mizbeach. It's mizbeach. It's the lechem of mizbeach. If you take something off your table, once it was on the table, it's bleibt on the table. It's bleibt on the table. So that's shot over here. Once Moshel Ben Or, right? It's Gavarin. It became Lach Moshel Mizbeach, and therefore it goes. That's why it goes back up, not because it's like off the. It's like somehow changed in a way that face the Mizbeach is kind of. It's like becomes Lach Moshel Mizbeach. Very very interesting svara. Amul Lo Shana Lo Shlei Moshel Ben Or. Av Moshel Ben Or Yalu. It goes up. Rav Mari Masnei Aresha. Rav Mari, he learned this din on the Resha. When he said Resha means our Mishnah. He learned it on Mishnah. When the Mishnah says Shem Yardu Leyalu, because it was Moshel Ben Or. Rav Chanina Misura, Rav Chanina from Surya, Masna Aseifa. He learned it on the next Mishnah. What's the next Mishnah say? Ha'at Samais, bones, gidim, sinus, karnayim, horns, telefayim, hooves of a carbon oila. Bismanshem mechubarin, when they're collected to basar, then yalu, they will go up on the mizbeach. However, this is not speaking about a psul, guys. This is speaking about stamazai. Stamazai, what goes up on the mizbeach. So if all these things are connected to the basar, they'll go up to be burnt. Parshu, but if they're separated from the basar, lo yalu. In other words, fellas, let's say you have an animal with horns. It's a zachar, that's horns, and you're going to burn it. Is the din of burning the horns? Do you have to take them off or not? If it's connected to the meat, it goes up. If it's not connected to the meat, it goes ahead what? And okay. And parshu lo yalu. Right? It shouldn't go so on this beach. Ama'ula lo shanu, that in parshu from the Mishnah doesn't go up. Ela k'shlei mashal men or. Aval, if what? If it was on the mizbeach, mashal men or, then yalu, it goes up. He'll go ahead and bring it back up. So this din of a Mo'il was going on ksherim, that if it's Moshel Ben Or, it stays up. Mandamasni Aseifa on Reb Chanina's din going on the horns and the tlofim, Kol Shkein Aresha, certainly on the Resha, where it's speaking about the etz and the imurim of psulim that came down. That a Moshel Ben Or is musfar lachmal mizbeach, something that can be eaten by the mizbeach rather than horns and hooves. Mandamasni Aresha, but the one who learns on the Resha, El Seifa, that would say that no, that if it goes down, it stays down. You know why? Because these things be'etzim are not what? Are not shaykh to being burnt. So therefore, if it goes down, it comes down. It stays down. Okay, not an easy daf, but the main din was the two din, and we saw the Rabbi Yochanan's din, the din of shechting at night, and if there's a din of halo b'chutz or not, there's a machloikis, right? Machloikis according to the first teretz to yufti shlavd up from shchitas oif. According to the second teretz, no, it's a teretz. And Achnami shchita of an oif is not shchita; it's killing it. There's no shchita. Mashenka my shchita b'layla. It is a good shchita. It just happens to be at night. And then we had Ulda's din, the din of what? Of if it's a shlomim, it's cut from kalim, the imurim. If it goes up before zrika, does it come down or not? Ulda says it doesn't come down. We will push it. It does not come down. We also push it. There's no din of mila in it.